Hello and welcome to Italy. This week we're at Misano, a circuit that to my surprise isn't featured in most racing games. So naturally, I had to go through the classic learning curve. Step 1, brake too early. Step 2, brake too late. Step 3, realize that the track exists beyond just the first two corners. But after some laps I finally got up to a decent pace. So let me take you on a guided tour of Misano, where we'll see the sights, push some limits, and try to avoid getting a track limits penalty within the first 5 seconds. As always, we begin at the start-finish line, because starting anywhere else is frowned upon. Approach from the left with half the car off the track. No time to explain, that's just how racing works. Brake it around 60 meters and aggressively cut turn 1, keeping just enough of the left tires on the curb to avoid a penalty. Shift the weight to the right, tap the brakes a bit more, and if everything has gone to plan, we should be able to take turn 3 completely flat out. Brake where this AstroTurf ends, turn in, and gently apply throttle as the car hopefully cooperates. The goal is to stick to the right after corner 5 as much as possible. Get it just right, and turn 6 can be taken flat. Get it wrong, and you'll either lose speed on the straight or earn a track cut penalty. Turn 7, yeah, we can ignore this one.
Forget about it, okay?
Coming up to a proper braking zone, we hit the brakes just before the 100-meter mark. How much before? That depends on tire temperatures, fuel load, and how brave or reckless we're really feeling at the moment. Aim for a slightly late apex and get over to the left side, setting up for the next section. Now this next part is a bit tricky. Brake around where the curb starts on the right, aim for a late apex, and roll onto the throttle as soon as humanly possible. Turn 11, not really much to say here, just floor it and let the physics do its thing. Turns 12 and 13 are fun if you get them right. Brake when you see the lighter patch of tarmac, or if you're feeling extra daring, just a fraction later. If the line is good, you can even squeeze the throttle after turn 13 just briefly. Brake at the white line on the left, and after the hairpin, get over to the right as fast as possible, set up for turn 15. If you're wide enough, this turn can be taken flat out. Otherwise, a slight lift is necessary. And finally, turn 16. Carry as much speed as possible, but whatever you do, don't cut too much, or the stewards will slap you with a penalty faster than you can say danger to manifold. And that's a lap. Now that the track is somewhat mastered, let's see how well we can actually put it all into practice. We start in P6, right in the thick of it. The first few corners go smoothly. No paint traded, no dive bombs, just good, clean racing. Honestly, moments like these are more satisfying than winning. Well, almost. In turn 4, a Ginetta takes the scenic route, opening the door for us. We get alongside, but quickly realize turn 6 isn't the place for heroics. Not unless we wanna get on the Sim Racing Stewards subreddit. So, we tug back in. Like proper law-abiding citizens, everyone keeps it civil for the first lap. Charging down the back straight, we approach my favorite section on this track, turns 12 and 13. But since it's only lap 1, we treat them like a bomb squad treats an unidentified package. Very carefully. As we complete the first lap, the pack is still tight, and the pressure is real. After about half a lap, the Porsche behind us makes a mess of turn 10, allowing a very eager KTM to pounce. The Austrian rocket ship executes a textbook pass through turn 11, and this skirmish gives us a little breathing room, so we're not complaining. The next lap, we finally see some fireworks. Up ahead, a Mercedes and another Ginetta are battling for P2. Coming into turn 8, both drivers pick different lines. One aiming for a late apex, the other turning in early. Spoiler alert, these lines intersect. Hard. The track is now a scrapyard, and the P4 McLaren has nowhere to go but straight into the chaos. We try to squeeze through, but our turn 10 is, let's say, suboptimal. No contact with the Ginetta, but our tight line means a little door-to-door tango with the McLaren. They do have better straight line speed and quickly reclaim their spot, and the Ginetta is happy to let them pass. Now by the main straight, we're still in the fight, running in a 4-car train. However, the gap to the car behind is shrinking like an ice cube in the sun. They are quicker, so it's only a matter of time. The Ginetta pulls off a beautiful dive up the inside of turn 4, making it look way too easy. A few corners later though, the McLaren shows why extra cylinders matter and reclaims the spot on the straight. All this battling lets us close the gap, but it also invites a lurking Mercedes into our mirrors. And they have decided now is the time to make a move. We ponder the best way to let them through, but they make the decision for us, getting a monster exit out of turn 3 and sending it up the inside at turn 4. Fair play, no hard feelings, but we're not giving up P6 without a fight. On lap 8, the Ginetta brakes way too late for turn 4, running wide and letting another car slip alongside. Their compromised line through turn 6 means they hemorrhage speed down the straight, and we follow the Merc through, hoping for a free pass. We get a little wobbly, and the Ginetta fights back. We go side by side through turn 10, keeping it clean and respectful. By the back straight, we are ahead, barely. But turn 13 bites us, and the Ginetta takes back the spot with a clean inside move. What a battle! Now as the race progresses, our pace starts dipping, and the KTM behind is sniffing an opportunity. Turn 14 brings the drama. The KTM brakes late, we brake early, and the result is a solid thump. We stay on the track, but the KTM loses momentum, giving the Merc behind them ideas. A lap later, deja vu strikes. The Mercedes in P8 gets too ambitious in turn 9 and sends the KTM flying off the track. A bit harsh, but hey, it's racing, shit happens. A few laps pass, and the 3 cars ahead of us continue scrapping like it's the final lap of Le Mans. On lap 14, the Ginetta gets a poor exit from the final corner and we close in. We try a move in turn 1, but back out. We don't want to end it all with only 5 minutes left. It's the last lap, and in the tricky section that includes turns 4 to 6, the Ginetta tries an inside move. But the Mercedes ahead slams the door. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too late and there's contact. We attempt to sneak past on the left, but with the Ginetta partially on the grass, they unfortunately overcorrect the slide, and we have a meeting of bumpers. We spin, doing a full 360. Thankfully, we're off the racing line, so no further carnage ensues. We rejoin at the start of a long straight, which is like entering the highway on a Vespa, while everyone is doing 120. The cars behind gain rapidly, but we just need to hold on for one more lap. Finally, we cross the finish line in P7. Not bad, only one position lost. Our safety rating took a hit though, thanks to all the lap taps. But overall, an intense, fun race. Pace could have been better, but it's our first time on this track, so we're not too mad. Like I always say, consistency is key. We've qualified P6 again. The race starts for the second time at Misano, and we survive the first few corners unscathed. Did I mention how satisfying clean racing is? Well, I may have spoken too soon. After just one lap, we're gunning down the back straight and closing in on another Mercedes. And turn 12 is where things get spicy. As you will probably know, different cars can have very different braking distances. The car ahead, though, is made in the same factory in Stuttgart, so their early braking takes us by a little bit of a surprise. Now, usually, my braking marker is this lighter patch of tarmac. If the tires are cold and we're carrying fuel, I brake thereabouts. Later in the race, I might push it a little deeper, but the Merc ahead, they hit the brakes noticeably earlier. We react quickly, slamming the brakes, engine braking as much as possible, but the car starts rotating, and suddenly, we're not behind them, we are ahead, by accident. A mini heart attack later, I lift off and take the outside of the next corner, giving the position back. Should I have done that? Who knows? And now the Ginetta behind sees the hesitation and swoops past too. Great, 2 places lost. But hey, at least there were no murder victims on that overtake. At the time, it felt like a huge mistake, but watching the replay, I think we were fine. We only released the brakes after we were fully past the other Merc. If we were still side by side, I'm confident we could have held the inside line. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, we know the car ahead is quicker. They beat us last race too, so we just need to settle in, focus on consistency, and keep the drama to an absolute minimum. For most of the race, that plan works, but our pace isn't stellar. and soon enough another Mercedes enters the picture, looming in our mirrors. They're not quite close enough to attack, until turn 6, where we absolutely butcher the exit, and all of a sudden we're bleeding speed down the straight. Being nice, we decide not to fight too hard, but instead of gracefully yielding, we execute the worst after you in motorsport history. The plan was to lift off and let them through, but we should have moved aside first. Instead, we slow down in the middle of the track like a lost tourist.
Disappointed!
Thankfully, the Merc was already planning an overtake and was steering left. Mental note, don't be an obstacle next time. The rest of the race is uneventful, turning into a hot lapping session, and we finish P8.
Not great or terrible.
But hey, we claw back some safety rating and edge a bit closer to 2000 ELO. With some luck, we crack that milestone by the end of this week. 2 races down, 2 to go. We start in P4, ready for another shot at the podium. The Let's Go Green and the green McLaren in P3 gets a good run. Coincidence? I think not. They immediately challenge the Mercedes in P2, getting their elbows out. But the track is narrow and the Merc stands firm. By turn 4, we all settle into single file, no drama. For the next few laps, we keep pace with the leaders, putting in solid times. But there's a Mercedes growing larger in our mirrors. And as we approach turn 8, drama. The Mercedes in P2 defends the inside line. The McLaren follows closely for the slipstream. And we tuck in behind for the same reason. But here's where we make our mistake. As the McLaren pulls right to take the racing line, naturally we follow suit. The only problem, our unusual approach scrambles something in our brain, and we brake too late. To avoid a crash, we take evasive action, running way too wide. It could have been a disaster, but instead we only lose 1 spot. Now in P5, with the car intact, we press on. At the next hairpin, the McLaren goes for an outside move, but runs too wide to make it work. And honestly, that's the last big moment until the very end of this race. We stick within half a second of the P4 Mercedes for the rest of the stint. And really, that should have been enough. But as the final lap begins, the racer instinct kicks in.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
We push just a little too hard, trying to extract every bit of pace from turn 8. And you know how that usually ends. Braking too late, we make contact. Both of us keep it together, but it's really not our proudest moment. Apologies all around. With only a few corners left, we bring the car home, slightly dented, but still in one piece. Another race in the books. Ah, a night race. You know, I firmly believe that nighttime is for sleeping, not racing. But here we are, sleep-deprived and groggy, fulfilling our obligations to the boys and girls back in Stuttgart. A strong coffee should help. Some last-minute setup tweaks gives us a high 141 in quali, which puts us in P3. Not bad, considering it's well past our bedtime. As the lights flash green, we approach the race with caution. Night racing means people tend to make more mistakes. And by people, I mean me. Luckily, the first few corners go smoothly, and we hold the position. The goal? Stick with the leaders and pull away from the followers.
You have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader.
But the racing gods have other plans. A quarter of the way in, we're still keeping up with P2, but a very quick Ginetta has locked onto our rear bumper. The hunt, as they say, is on. They get a good exit from turn 8, making us think we need to defend here. So we take the inside line for the next 2 corners. Defensive, but not ideal. Was there any time spent practicing this line, you ask?
Not really. Maybe. It's classified.
They have an opportunity for a switchback and get next to us on the long straight. We barely manage to keep our position, both of us cautious and not wanting to spin out. But they've taken notes. Next lap, same play. Outside move into turn 10. This time around, we exit side by side. It's a drag race down the back straight, and we are wringing every last horsepower out of the car. We hold the inside line through turns 12 and 13, but the Ginetta doesn't back down. They complete the move around the outside, and before we can blink, another car sneaks up on the inside. 2 positions lost in a flash. Still, P5 isn't terrible, and there's still plenty of time to recover. Except, podium wasn't in the cards for us. We start losing pace, the cars ahead are pulling away, while the ones behind start getting ideas. By lap 12, we have a little wobble, letting a Ginetta get dangerously close. In an unfortunate turn of events, they got a drive-through penalty just a couple laps later, which is very easy to do on this track, especially in the dark. Another Ginetta makes a few aggressive moves later on, but we hold firm, stringing together some solid laps to keep them at bay. In the end, we cross the line in P5. Not a podium, but a respectable finish. Finally, we can go get some sleep. Another week of racing in the books, and what a week it's been. Misano turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Tricky to learn, but incredibly satisfying once we found the rhythm. Carving through those turns and shaving off lap times, chef's kiss. On the stats front, our ELO has blasted past 2000. And aside from a few learning experiences, our safety rating is on a general upward trajectory. With that in mind, I think it's time to reassess our goals. First, our deepest desire to gain as much safety rating as possible remains. 9.0 or bust. No excuses, no funny business, just clean, disciplined racing. As for ELO, well, it's been climbing fast, so why not aim absurdly high? 3000 it is. To spice things up, I really want to try other cars as well, so from now on, we'll start rotating through the different GT4 cars. That should keep things fresh. So, with these wildly ambitious goals scribbled onto a post-it note that will inevitably get lost, I wish you a nice rest of the week and see you on the track.